The rejection. It was a day that would forever alter the course of galactic history, though no one knew it at the time. I, Ambassador Talon K. Vex of the Centaur Alliance, stood in the Grand Council chamber, watching the proceedings unfold. The chamber, as always, was full of representatives from across the galaxy, species with centuries of advanced technology, powerful militaries, and cultural legacies that stretched across the stars. They were all gathered to decide the fate of Earth, a relatively young and still developing species that had recently made its first foray into the cosmos. The human delegation stood at the center of the chamber, composed yet tense. Trade Minister Benjamin Hawks, with his sharp suit and ever-present calm demeanor, stood at the podium, his knuckles gripping the edges as if to steady himself. Captain Lyra Novak, a striking figure with her dark green eyes, stood beside him, her expression unreadable but her posture giving away the simmering intensity she carried within. This was not the moment they had hoped for. Earth's petition for full membership in the Galactic Council was on the line. The Council was a prestigious body, comprised of representatives from hundreds of advanced species that had long since surpassed Earth in technological and societal development. These species held dominion over entire systems, built megastructures beyond human comprehension, and governed vast territories across the stars. To join their ranks was considered the pinnacle of success for any emerging species. It was the greatest honor one could achieve, the ultimate acknowledgement of a species' place in the galactic community. But for Earth, that honor would remain just out of reach. Councillor Zaramte, a towering being from the xenoglyphic species of Rexus, stood up, her 7-foot frame casting a shadow over the assembly. Her shimmering scales reflected the light in a mesmerizing way as her eyes narrowed upon the humans. She raised a hand, and silence fell over the chamber. The Council has reached its decision regarding Earth's petition for membership, she announced, her voice booming with authority. I could see the tension in Minister Hawk's face, the way his jaw clenched tightly, but his voice was steady when he responded, "We are honored by your consideration, but we must make our case. Earth seeks partnership, not permission to advance. We understand your concerns, but we offer something that could benefit all of us." Councillor Mt's gills fluttered irritably, and I could feel the coldness of the room grow. The Council has decided that Earth's technological advancement rate is too aggressive. Your species' rapid military expansion poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability, she said, her tone firm and final. There was an audible rustling of murmurs from around the room. Some of the delegates, from older and more established species, nodded in agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably, but most were quick to hide their discomfort. I could see the Arcturus representative beside me roll his eyes, murmuring under his breath, "How rich." Coming from the species that invented planet-cracking mining operations. I couldn't help but agree. The Council was quick to point out humanity's aggressive advancement, but they had no qualms about their own history of ruthlessness in the pursuit of resources. Despite their high-minded speeches, I knew there was a deeper fear underlying their rejection. Earth's rapid advancements, particularly in military technology, could pose a real threat to the established order. Minister Hawks, sensing the shift in tone, took a deep breath before speaking again, his voice unyielding, "While we respect your decision, we must point out that your judgment is short-sighted. The Council has underestimated the resilience of our species." His words were met with a collective gasp, and I saw Mte's eyes flare with anger. "Are you questioning the wisdom of this Council, Minister Hawks?" Mte demanded, her voice now dangerously low. Hawks remained composed. "Not at all, Councillor," he said with a thin smile. "I merely suggest that in your eagerness to contain humanity, you may have overlooked a fundamental truth about our species." The tension in the room was palpable. Captain Novak stepped forward, her voice cutting through the silence. "We didn't come here seeking permission to advance. We came to offer partnership. We offer mutual growth, cooperation, and shared prosperity." Her words were met with laughter from several Council members, who dismissed her plea as the naive hope of an immature species. But not Mte. Her gills stopped fluttering, her eyes locking onto Novak's with a piercing gaze. The human delegation, knowing that they were being dismissed, began to move toward the exit. Minister Hawks paused at the doors, turning back to address the assembly one last time. His voice was calm but carried an undeniable edge. "Esteemed Council, you might want to reconsider your stance on independent technological development. You never know when you might need friends who think outside your carefully constructed box." As the doors closed behind them, I couldn't help but feel the weight of their words. There was something unsettling about the way they exited the chamber, their calm demeanor hiding the fury beneath. And something in my gut told me that this moment, this decision, would come to haunt us. Ambassador Talk of the RAL Confederation, his tentacles curled in amusement, commented with a slight chuckle, "A dramatic exit, to be sure." I nodded but couldn't shake the nagging feeling that we had just made a terrible mistake. "We may have just rejected the very species that could change the galaxy," I replied quietly, my eyes following the human delegation as they disappeared from view. "Change the galaxy?" Talk scoffed, his tentacles waving dismissively. "They're centuries behind us in terms of technology. What can they possibly accomplish on their own?" I leaned back in my seat, watching the chamber slowly return to its usual bustle. "That's exactly what makes them dangerous, my friend. We've just told a species known for its resourcefulness and determination that they're not good enough for our club." Talk snorted in derision. "Worrying too much, K-Vex. What's the worst that could happen?" I wasn't so sure. As the session resumed, and the council moved on to discussing trivial matters like trade tariffs on luxury goods, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had just witnessed the beginning of something far bigger. Something that, in the end, might bring the full weight of humanity crashing down on us in ways we couldn't even imagine. And though the council might have dismissed them, I knew that humans, when pushed, were capable of things that would leave the galaxy reeling. We were about to find out exactly what they could do. And I had the unsettling feeling that we wouldn't like the answer. 5 years later. 5 years had passed since the Galactic Council made its fateful decision to reject Earth's petition. In that time, something extraordinary had happened. The humans, spurred on by the Council's dismissal and fueled by their innate resourcefulness, had transformed in ways the galaxy had never anticipated. As an ambassador, I was stationed in the sector near Earth's solar system, and I had witnessed firsthand the incredible progress that humanity had made in such a short period of time. It was early one morning when I received an urgent message from my aide, AR, who insisted I come to the observation deck. "Ambassador K-Vex, you need to see this," AR's voice crackled over the comm, his tone laced with excitement. I made my way to the deck, puzzled. Earth had been relatively quiet in recent months, keeping to itself while developing its new technologies. But as I gazed through the station's large view screen, my heart skipped a beat. What I saw defied logic. A ship, sleek and angular, was performing impossible maneuvers in the void of space. It twisted and turned in ways that no craft, let alone one of such size, should have been able to. It zipped across the sky with impossible speed, jumping from one point to another in the blink of an eye. As I studied the ship, I could make out a series of sudden, rapid spatial jumps. The ship's hull rippled with energy, but it held together with seemingly no strain at all. "What in the name of the 7 moons am I looking at?" I muttered, utterly astonished. "The humans are calling it the Thunderbolt-class destroyer," AR said, his voice filled with awe. "It's their latest warship. And it's equipped with something they're calling quantum slip technology." I stood there, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. Quantum slip technology had been the stuff of dreams, something that the Council's top scientists had considered impossible for at least another century. It was the kind of breakthrough that could redefine the fabric of space travel, yet the humans had somehow managed to achieve it in mere years. A fleet using such technology could maneuver across galaxies faster than anything we had in our arsenal. "That's impossible," I whispered to myself. The Council's best scientists concluded that quantum manipulation on this scale would require at least another century of research. AR's antenna twitched nervously. Well, sir, apparently nobody told the humans that. Before I could respond, more reports began flooding in from across the sector. The humans hadn't just been sitting idly, developing this single ship. They had been busy, and what I was witnessing now was only the beginning of a revolution. These warships were not isolated projects, they were part of a larger, far more ambitious endeavor. I could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on me as I watched the Thunderbolt destroyer execute a perfect series of quantum jumps. The ship, sleek and aggressive, was a technological marvel that had no precedent in galactic history. Yet, it was only one example of the advancements Earth had made in the last few years. These were the kinds of ships that could single-handedly shift the balance of power in the galaxy. I need to speak with Admiral Victoria Stone, I said, my mind racing. She was Earth's lead strategist and the architect of their new space force. If anyone knew the full extent of Earth's capabilities, it was her. The following day, I found myself standing in front of one of Earth's largest shipyards, a massive complex hidden within the asteroid belt of their solar system. I marveled at the sheer scale of it as my shuttle approached, the facility stretching for kilometers, its many interconnected bays and stations a testament to the humans' ingenuity. As I disembarked, Admiral Victoria Stone greeted me, her silver hair pulled back into a tight bun. Her uniform, adorned with the newly designed insignia of the Earth Independent Force, was immaculate, projecting the confidence of someone in control of an unstoppable force. "Impressive, isn't it?" she said, her voice carrying a note of pride. "You've built this in just 5 years?" I asked, my voice tinged with disbelief. "We've had help," she replied with a smile. "When the Council rejected us, we didn't go it alone. We've opened our doors to independent worlds and even some former Council members who saw the opportunity to create something different. No restrictions. No technology sharing protocols. Just pure, unbridled innovation." I followed her through the enormous construction bay, and I nearly forgot to breathe as I saw what was inside. There, towering over everything else, was a ship unlike any I had ever seen. Its massive form dwarfed even the largest capital ships from the Council. The EIS Defiance, as Stone called it, was the first of Earth's Titan-class carriers. It carried a complement of 500 Thunderbolt destroyers and 300 support vessels, enough firepower to make any potential adversary think twice. The scale of it was breathtaking. "How many of these Titans are you building?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. I was accustomed to seeing powerful fleets, but nothing like this. "That's classified," Stone said with a predatory smile. "Though I will tell you this, Phoenix Yard isn't our only shipyard." I raised an eyebrow. "You're building more?" "Oh yes," she said, her smile widening. "We've established several more. Earth's fleet is only going to get larger, and we plan to keep it that way. We're not just building warships, we're building an entire defense network. And we're not alone in this." She looked at me pointedly. "Anyone willing to contribute is welcome. The Council tried to restrict us, but now we're expanding, together, with those who are ready for the future." The implications of what she was saying started to sink in. Earth was no longer the underdog trying to earn a seat at the table. Earth was now building the table, and everyone else was welcome to join, or be left behind. As we continued the tour, I was struck by one more revelation. The workforce here wasn't just human. There were species from across the galaxy working side by side with humans, contributing their knowledge and expertise without fear of the Council's restrictions. When Earth broke free, they had not only developed the technology themselves, but had brought together a coalition of independent worlds, all working toward the same goal, innovation without limitation. "This is just the beginning, Ambassador," Admiral Stone said as we gazed at the shipyard. "The next 5 years are going to look very different. The galaxy will be forced to reckon with us. And when that happens, we'll be ready." I stood in silence, my mind racing to process what I had just learned. Earth was no longer the insignificant species the Council had dismissed. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. As I boarded my shuttle to leave, I looked out the window at the fleet of Thunderbolt destroyers that were now emerging from the construction bays. Their sleek forms left trails of light in their wake as they jumped into quantum space, the perfect embodiment of the power Earth had gained. The galaxy had just made the biggest mistake of its existence. The Council may have rejected humanity, but in doing so, they had unknowingly pushed a sleeping giant into action. Now, humanity was awake, and ready to take on the universe. As I watched the ships disappear into the distance, I couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change forever, and that Earth would be at the center of it all. The Phoenix Yard. The day I visited Phoenix Yard would forever remain etched in my memory. Standing amidst the sprawling asteroid belt, I couldn't help but marvel at what the humans had accomplished in just a few short years. The shipyard was a colossal construction facility, its design sprawling across multiple asteroids that had been hollowed out and repurposed to house the growing fleet. From the observation deck of my shuttle, I could see several Thunderbolt-class destroyers being assembled, their sleek forms emerging from the shadows of the asteroid caverns like monsters coming to life. Impressive, isn't it? Admiral Victoria Stone's voice came through the comm system, breaking my awestruck reverie. The scale of it alone is enough to make even the most seasoned engineer pause for thought. I can see why you've named it Phoenix Yard, I replied, still stunned by the sight. The name felt fitting for a place where something as powerful as the legendary Phoenix was rising from the ashes of a rejected Earth. The very idea that the humans had been banished from the Council only to come back stronger, more capable, and ready to shake the foundations of galactic power was mind-boggling. Stone's voice carried a note of pride, but also a hint of something more, an unshakable confidence, and a quiet determination. When the Council shut us out, they gave us the space to grow beyond their reach. We were never going to be held back, Ambassador. We saw their rejection as a challenge we've turned into an opportunity. As we made our way through the facility, I couldn't help but notice the sheer efficiency of the operation. The workforce here wasn't just human, it was a blend of species from across the galaxy, many of whom had either been rejected by the Council or simply chosen to work outside its rules. The humans had done what the Council had tried to prevent, they had forged alliances with independent worlds, shared knowledge freely, and built a military-industrial complex that rivaled anything the Council had put together. The first stop on our tour was a massive construction bay, where the new Titan-class carriers were taking shape. I stared in awe as the hulls of these colossal ships were carefully welded together by specialized drones, each ship as large as a small moon. The centerpiece, however, was the EIS Defiance, the first of its class, now nearing completion. "Meet the EIS Defiance," Stone announced, gesturing toward the ship that dominated the center of the bay. It was a behemoth, easily 3 times the size of the largest Council capital ships. Its sleek, angular design looked like something forged for war, with dark metal surfaces that seemed to absorb the light around them. If the Thunderbolt destroyers were lightning-fast and agile, the EIS Defiance was a juggernaut, a symbol of humanity's raw power and strategic brilliance. I was at a loss for words as I gazed up at the ship's towering structure. "This ship, it's enormous," I finally managed to say. "It's just the beginning," Stone replied, her tone brimming with confidence. "The EIS Defiance carries a complement of 500 Thunderbolt destroyers, 300 support vessels, and enough firepower to make any would-be adversary think twice. But we're not stopping there. We have more shipyards, more fleets, and more plans than you could imagine." As we walked around the shipyard, it became increasingly clear that Earth had not only overcome the Council's restrictions, they had completely bypassed them. What had once been seen as the Council's greatest strength, their monopoly on technological development, had become their greatest weakness. Without the Council's interference, humanity had been free to explore avenues of scientific and technological progress that no one could have predicted. In another bay, I was shown an impressive array of spacecraft in various stages of construction. These were not just military vessels, some were designed for peaceful exploration, equipped with technology that would allow humanity to explore the furthest reaches of the galaxy without fear of technological restrictions. In fact, it seemed that Earth had invested just as much in scientific research as they had in their military arsenal. We've learned to harness technology in ways no one thought possible, Stone continued as we walked past another ship under construction. One of the things that set us apart is our willingness to take risks. When the Council said we couldn't develop quantum slip drives, we didn't accept their word as gospel. We simply went ahead and did it. I nodded slowly, taking in the magnitude of what she was saying. The humans didn't just follow the rules set by the Council, they broke them. They weren't content with the status quo, they were determined to push the boundaries of what was possible, no matter the cost. We didn't just crack quantum slip technology, Ambassador, Stone said with a twinkle in her eye. We went beyond it. Parallel dimension energy extraction. The Council called it impossible. We made it a reality. Clean, unlimited power. And now, we're sharing it with anyone who's willing to join us. The thought of unlimited energy was staggering. The Council had always hoarded its technological secrets, using them to control trade, resources, and power. But Earth had unlocked the very thing that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. With clean energy and advanced military technology, humanity now had the means to build an empire, and they were offering that power to any species that wanted to stand with them. As we continued through the shipyard, I couldn't help but wonder what the Council would think when they learned what Earth had accomplished in such a short time. The humans had gone from being a rejected species to becoming a force capable of rivaling the most powerful empires in the galaxy. The Council made a mistake, didn't they? I said quietly, more to myself than to Admiral Stone. Stone's eyes met mine, and for a brief moment, I saw a flash of something hard and unyielding. The Council didn't just make a mistake, Ambassador. They underestimated us. And now, they're going to have to deal with the consequences. Her words hung in the air as I gazed at the ships being assembled around us. I could feel the shift happening. Earth wasn't just a part of the galaxy anymore. Earth was becoming the galaxy's future, and the Council was about to find out exactly what that meant. I had watched the humans from a distance for years, but now I understood the truth, the rejection had only made them stronger. Earth was no longer a species waiting for permission to join the galactic community. Earth was now a power in its own right. And soon, the entire galaxy would know it. As I boarded my shuttle and watched the shipyard shrink into the distance, I couldn't help but smile. The game had changed, and humanity was leading the charge. Whatever the Council thought of Earth now, they wouldn't be able to ignore them for much longer. The future of the galaxy was no longer in the hands of the Council, it was in the hands of humanity. And that was a future I was now keen to witness firsthand. Earth's secret development. The more I learned about Earth's rapid advancements, the more I realized how deeply the Council had misjudged them. The rejection had fueled the fire within humanity, and what had been seen as a setback by the galaxy's elites had turned into an extraordinary opportunity for Earth to develop freely, without any outside interference. As I continued to witness the incredible progress they made, one thing became clear: humanity was no longer just a developing species, they were fast becoming the galaxy's most innovative power. Several days after my tour of Phoenix Yard, I received an unexpected invitation. Dr. Nathan Blake, one of Earth's leading scientists, had requested a private meeting to discuss some of the most shocking breakthroughs they had achieved. I had heard rumors, whispers about Earth's secret research projects, but I had no idea what was about to unfold before me. Dr. Blake was an enigmatic figure, short, with wild, unkempt hair that seemed to match the intensity in his eyes. When he greeted me in the briefing room, there was a sense of palpable excitement about him, as though he could barely contain the monumental knowledge he was about to share. "We've done it, Ambassador," he said, barely able to sit still. "We've cracked the code to parallel dimension energy extraction." I blinked in disbelief. "You've done what?" Blake chuckled, an almost giddy laugh. I know it sounds impossible. The Council dismissed it as pure fantasy when we proposed it. But we found a way to tap into energy from parallel dimensions, clean, unlimited power. I could hardly process what he was saying. The Council had always deemed any energy source beyond their controlled methods too dangerous to explore. But Blake's enthusiasm made it clear that he wasn't just theorizing, he was standing on the threshold of a new era of energy that could fundamentally change the galaxy's entire power structure. We've been working on it for the past 3 years, Blake continued, his voice full of pride. At first, we couldn't control it. But we stopped trying to. Instead, we learned to work with it. To dance with it, if you will. Dance with it? I repeated, still unsure of how to grasp this concept. Blake grinned. The key to controlling unstable energy isn't controlling it at all. It's about learning to coexist with it. It's like a partnership between us and the energy. That's how we've been able to harness it safely. I couldn't help but be struck by the brilliance of his words. The Council had always tried to control everything. They believed in strict control and regulations to safeguard the galaxy from what they considered dangerous technologies. Yet, here was a species that had broken free from that mindset. Earth was learning to embrace the unknown, to take risks where others feared to tread. Blake led me to a lab deep within their research facility, where the core of their breakthrough was housed. It was a mesmerizing sight. A swirling mass of energy, a pulsing sphere that seemed to exist outside the realm of ordinary physics. As we approached, I felt a strange hum in the air, a deep vibration that seemed to resonate with the core's energy. This is the heart of the parallel dimension energy extraction system, Blake explained, his voice reverberating with awe. We've learned to stabilize and harness this energy. It's limitless, and it's clean. No more resource wars. No more reliance on unstable energy sources. This is the future. My mind raced with the implications. If humanity truly had access to such a resource, they would have the power to reshape not only their own future but the entire galaxy's. The energy produced by this technology could fuel entire worlds, power unimaginable technologies, and render every other form of energy obsolete. The Council had always hoarded such advancements, using them as a means of control. But Earth had broken free of that paradigm. You're telling me the Council banned research into this, I said slowly, but you found a way to make it work. That's right, Blake confirmed. And it's not just energy. We've cracked other fields of research as well, quantum slip drives, space-time manipulation, even artificial intelligence. Everything the Council considered too dangerous to explore, we've made a reality. I could see that Blake's enthusiasm was not just about his scientific breakthroughs, it was about something larger. It was about freedom, the freedom to explore, to innovate, to create without limits. While the Council had been content to regulate and stifle, Earth had been free to create without boundaries. The Council could never have done this, Blake continued. They were too focused on control. But look at what we've accomplished without their oversight. And now, we're ready to share it. We're ready to make these technologies available to anyone who's willing to partner with us. It was a bold statement, one that could change the dynamics of the entire galaxy. The Council had long been the gatekeepers of technology, withholding advancements from species they deemed unworthy. But here was Earth, offering their discoveries to the galaxy, inviting anyone who was willing to join them. They were no longer a species begging for permission. They were offering a new path forward, one where innovation, cooperation, and mutual growth could thrive. As Blake showed me more of their breakthroughs, I couldn't help but be impressed. What Earth had achieved was far beyond anything I had ever expected. The Council had rejected them, but in doing so, they had given Earth the space to innovate freely. And in that freedom, Earth had grown into a power that could no longer be ignored. When we concluded the tour, I was left in awe of what I had seen. The humans had not only proved the Council wrong, but they had gone beyond the Council's wildest expectations. What had once been seen as a species too young, too aggressive, and too reckless was now emerging as a leader in technological advancement. Earth had discovered a new way of doing things, a way that was outside the Council's carefully constructed boundaries. As I prepared to leave the facility, Blake handed me a data crystal, a gift, though I had no idea what it contained. "I think you'll find this interesting," he said with a knowing smile. I took the crystal, already knowing that what I had witnessed would change everything. Earth was no longer simply a rejected species. They were a rising power, and their innovations would soon ripple across the galaxy. The Council's decision to shut them out had not crippled them, it had only fueled their growth. As I left the facility, my thoughts turned to the Council and their arrogance. Earth had surpassed them in more ways than one. And now, with their powerful technologies and their unwavering resolve, the humans were preparing to make their mark on the galaxy. I had the feeling that the Council's reign was nearing its end, and that humanity would be at the forefront of a new era. The galaxy, once firmly under the control of the Council, was now on the brink of change. And Earth, the species that had been cast aside, would be the one to lead the charge. The Scarlet Armada. 6 months had passed since Earth had officially declared its independence from the Galactic Council. The humans had made their presence known, not just through the innovations they developed, but through a series of bold and unexpected moves that sent ripples throughout the galaxy. The Scarlet Armada, a group of pirates equipped with advanced technology that seemed to match the capabilities of the most elite fleets in the galaxy, was the first sign that Earth was no longer a species to be taken lightly. The pirates, known for their brutal raids on trade hubs and remote colonies, had somehow managed to acquire weapons and ships that were almost identical to those of the Council's top fleets. Their leader, a notorious figure known only as Captain Vrax, had evaded the Council's military forces for months, launching coordinated attacks that left entire supply chains in ruins. The Council, caught off guard by the strength of the pirates' fleets, struggled to mount an effective defense. But something didn't add up. How could a ragtag group of pirates have access to technology that rivaled the most advanced ships in the galaxy? I had my suspicions, but I couldn't prove them, until one fateful emergency council session brought the truth to light. It was a stormy day in the council chamber when High Councilor Mte, with her scales shimmering under the harsh light of the chamber, called for a session to address the growing threat of the Scarlet Armada. The room was filled with nervous tension, delegates from across the galaxy murmuring amongst themselves. The usually composed council members now looked uncharacteristically frazzled. Reports of pirate attacks on major trade hubs were coming in faster than the council could process them, and the pirates' ability to bypass even the most advanced defense grids was a constant mystery. The chamber was in disarray when Commander Amanda Blackwood, who had been assigned to Earth's observation post, stood up. She was a human, an anomaly in the Council's midst, where humans had no official standing, yet she had managed to carve out a place for herself by her sheer competence. I could see Mte's gills twitch in annoyance as Blackwood made her way to the podium, but the commander held the room's attention with an air of unshakable confidence. "They're using quantum slip signatures to mask their approach," Blackwood said, her voice sharp and clear. Her eyes scanned the room, and for the first time, I saw the Council's leadership pause, truly listening. "The same technology you mocked us for pursuing 5 years ago." Mte's gills flared in anger. "You dare suggest that these pirates obtained their technology from Earth?" Blackwood smiled faintly, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of amusement and patience. "No, High Councilor. I'm suggesting they stole it from you." The room fell silent. I could see the realization dawn on the faces of several council members, particularly those who had been involved in the early stages of the council's research on quantum slip drives. There had been classified facilities, research stations that had been abandoned when the council decided the technology was too dangerous to continue developing. Yet, the data from those facilities had never been properly secured. Blackwood was right. The pirates had been using the council's own discarded research to fuel their raids. Blackwood continued, her voice gaining strength. The pirates got their hands on partial research data from those abandoned facilities. All they needed were the resources and the will to develop it. And that's exactly what they did. I glanced at the Arcturus representative next to me, who had gone pale. He was one of the delegates who had helped vote to shut down the quantum research projects. His face, normally composed, was now filled with guilt as he realized the enormity of the Council's mistake. But the most surprising moment of the session came when Blackwood turned her attention back to the Council. "We know how to deal with the pirates. We have the technology, and we have the fleet to counter their attacks. All we need is your approval." The tension in the room was palpable. The Council had been blindsided by the pirates, but now, Blackwood was offering them the very solution they needed. The room erupted in murmurs, but it was clear that the Council was hesitant. Asking for help from Earth, the species they had rejected so boldly, was not something they were eager to do. Blackwood, undeterred by the Council's hesitation, continued with a calm assurance. "If you want to stop the Scarlet Armada, you have two choices. You can accept Earth's assistance and allow us to counter the pirates using the same technology that they've hijacked. Or, you can continue to face humiliating defeat as these pirates tear apart your trade networks and systems. The choice is yours." The room was silent for a moment, the weight of the decision hanging over everyone. The pirates had been a thorn in the Council's side, but admitting they needed help from a species they had rejected would be a significant blow to their pride. I watched as High Councilor Mte, her scales dull with frustration, stood up. "We will discuss this matter in private," she said tersely, before signaling for the session to adjourn. As the Council members shuffled out of the chamber, whispers filled the room. Some were clearly disturbed by the revelation that Earth had not only been ahead of the Council in terms of technological advancements but that the pirates had been able to exploit the Council's own abandoned research to create a force capable of challenging their fleets. Others were still in disbelief that the humans, who had been so thoroughly dismissed, had become the galaxy's most significant technological force. But what struck me the most was Blackwood's calm demeanor. She knew exactly how to leverage the Council's arrogance against them. The pirates, once seen as a rogue threat, were now the perfect example of the Council's failure to properly secure its own advancements. And in the process, Earth had become the galaxy's unexpected savior. I sat back in my seat, reflecting on what had just happened. Earth had proven to the Council that their rejection had only served to fuel the humans' determination. They had developed a technology that could change the course of the galaxy, and they were now offering that technology to the very species that had refused them. Earth's offer was a calculated move, and it was clear that the Council had no choice but to accept it. The stakes had never been higher, and the balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. As Blackwood had said, the choice was theirs: either accept Earth's help or watch the pirates continue their rampage. And the Council would soon learn that rejecting humanity had been the biggest mistake of all. The battle. The moment of truth arrived sooner than expected. Less than 12 hours after Commander Amanda Blackwood's proposal, Earth's independent fleet, under the command of Admiral James Sterling, had begun operations against the Scarlet Armada. The stakes were clear. The fate of the galaxy's trade routes and security now rested on a razor's edge, and only one side could prevail. The Scarlet Armada, once considered an unstoppable force by the Council, was now facing a much more formidable opponent than they had anticipated. Earth's fleet, now fully deployed, had already begun to engage the pirates on multiple fronts. The pirates, confident in their superior technology and their ability to outmaneuver any opposition, had underestimated the precision and strength of the human force they now faced. I stood on the observation deck of the Council's premier defense station, watching the holographic displays light up with data and reports. The room was tense, a strange mixture of disbelief and awe filling the air. Earth's fleet was already in motion, its ships deploying from the quantum rifts that appeared across the vast expanse of space like blossoms of light. The sheer scale of the operation was unlike anything the Council had ever witnessed, and for the first time in years, there was genuine fear in the faces of the delegates around me. Admiral Sterling's fleet, which had been conducting training exercises in the sector, was ready. The Thunderbolt-class destroyers, capable of making rapid quantum jumps, swarmed into the battlefield with unmatched precision, leaving no time for the pirates to react. The Scarlet Armada, for all their technological superiority, had no answer for the tactical brilliance of Earth's fleet. Their ships, though fast, lacked the maneuverability and coordination that Earth's forces had honed in the chaos of their fight for survival. It didn't take long for the battle to escalate. The first few engagements were swift, with Earth's ships decimating the pirate vessels one by one. The Thunderbolt destroyers, agile and lethal, moved like lightning, appearing out of nowhere and striking with pinpoint accuracy. Their quantum slip drives allowed them to attack with complete surprise, emerging from the folds of space and unleashing devastating barrages of plasma fire before the pirates could react. But the pirates weren't completely unprepared. They fought fiercely, using their stolen quantum slip technology to evade direct confrontation and launch hit-and-run tactics. However, their technology, though impressive, was still crude compared to what Earth had perfected over the years. The pirate slip drives, unstable and inefficient, were far more predictable than Earth's more refined systems. The pirates had to drop out of quantum space at certain points, leaving them vulnerable to interception. And that's exactly what Earth had prepared for. As Admiral Sterling's fleet advanced, they set up a series of quantum traps, forcing the pirates to reveal their positions. It was a simple but effective tactic. By the time the pirates realized what was happening, it was already too late. Earth's ships were everywhere, intercepting their quantum jumps and targeting their weak spots. Each pirate vessel that fell left a gaping hole in the Armada's ranks. But it was not just Earth's firepower that was overwhelming the pirates, it was their strategy. The human forces fought like a well-coordinated team, with each ship moving with purpose, every action calculated. It was a level of coordination and discipline that the pirates could never match, no matter how advanced their technology. For every pirate ship that tried to escape, two more were waiting to strike. And Earth's fleet was not just defending, it was relentlessly pursuing the pirates, tracking them down and forcing them into submission. The turning point came when Earth's forces cornered the Scarlet Armada's flagship, the Vengeance, a massive cruiser that had been the heart of the pirate fleet. The flagship, a symbol of the pirates' power and arrogance, was now surrounded by Earth's Titan-class carriers and Thunderbolt destroyers. Admiral Sterling, with his calm and collected demeanor, had the final piece of the puzzle in place, a coordinated attack that would neutralize the pirates once and for all. "We've got them," Sterling's voice crackled over the comms as I watched from the Council's observation deck. "Prepare for the final assault. No mercy." With that, the battle became a frenzy of coordinated strikes. The pirates, now realizing the tide had turned, tried to fight back, but it was futile. Earth's fleet launched a devastating salvo, their firepower overwhelming the Vengeance in a matter of minutes. The pirate ship's shields faltered under the onslaught, and then, with a deafening explosion, the Vengeance was gone. Its wreckage floated in space, a burning testament to the might of Earth's fleet. The rest of the Scarlet Armada followed suit. One by one, the remaining pirate vessels fell, their efforts to escape thwarted by the relentless pursuit of Earth's ships. It was an utter rout, and within hours, the pirates had been defeated, their once feared fleet now reduced to floating debris. As the last pirate ship fell silent in space, a deep, unsettling quiet settled over the battlefield. Earth's fleet, though victorious, had shown no signs of slowing down. Their ships moved like an unstoppable force, precise and relentless. It was clear now that Earth was no longer just a species fighting to survive, it was a species that could conquer. I stood at the observation deck, watching as the last pirate ship was destroyed, and I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of awe. The humans had done it. They had faced down the pirates, a force that had terrorized the galaxy for months, and they had crushed them without breaking a sweat. Their ships, their tactics, their sheer determination, everything about the battle spoke to their strength as a species. The Council had underestimated Earth from the start. The pirates had stolen technology from the Council's own abandoned research, but it was Earth that had turned that technology into a weapon. It was Earth that had perfected it, not only for survival but for domination. The Scarlet Armada had been a mere stepping stone, a symbol of what was to come. As I watched Earth's fleet make their final passes over the battlefield, I realized something. The Council was no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. The humans had just demonstrated that they were a force to be reckoned with. They had proven their worth, not through diplomacy or negotiation, but through action. And the galaxy would now have to reckon with Earth. And so, the galaxy's most significant battle in years had been won by a species that had once been seen as inferior. The Council's arrogance, its refusal to acknowledge humanity's potential, had led to this moment, a moment where Earth stood victorious, its future brighter than ever. As I turned away from the observation deck, I knew one thing for certain: Earth was no longer just a player in the galaxy's game. They were the game changers. The treaty. In the wake of Earth's stunning victory over the Scarlet Armada, the mood in the Galactic Council chamber was somber. The once imposing walls of the chamber, lined with representatives from hundreds of species, now seemed less intimidating. The delegates shuffled in, their faces a mixture of disbelief, regret, and reluctant admiration. The battle that had played out across the stars had shifted the balance of power in a way no one had anticipated. Earth had proven itself not only capable of defending its territory but of challenging the entire galactic order. The most unexpected part of it all, however, was that the humans hadn't just fought to defend themselves. They had fought for something far more important: the recognition of their strength and their place in the galaxy. Earth had shown the Council that it was not some backwater planet to be overlooked. It was a powerful, independent force that had the technology, the will, and the strategic brilliance to rival the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. It was time for the Council to face the truth. They could no longer afford to ignore Earth. I stood quietly in the back of the chamber, watching as High Councilor Mte, who had once rejected Earth with a contemptuous wave of her hand, took her seat. Her once proud scales now seemed dull, and her posture was no longer that of a confident leader. The defeat at the hands of the humans had shattered the Council's illusions of dominance. Their pride had been their greatest weakness, and now they had no choice but to acknowledge the power of the species they had so recklessly dismissed. The doors to the chamber slid open with a soft hiss, and the human delegation entered, led by Minister Benjamin Hawks. The same calm determination I had witnessed 5 years ago was evident in his stride, but now, there was a sense of quiet triumph about him. Beside him, Captain Lyra Novak, ever the composed and silent presence, walked with a measured pace, her green eyes scanning the room. This time, the Council was not the same intimidating body it once was. Now, the humans had the upper hand. I saw Minister Hawks glance briefly at the gathered delegates, a subtle but unmistakable gesture. It was the look of a species that had been underestimated, but had now achieved something monumental. A species that had come from the fringes of galactic politics and established itself as a force to be reckoned with. Esteemed members of the Council, Hawks began, his voice calm but resonating with authority. It's been a long time since Earth's petition for membership was rejected. A lot has changed in those 5 years, as I'm sure you're all aware. We didn't come here today to ask for permission to exist, or to take your place. We came to offer you something. Mte's gills fluttered with barely restrained irritation, but she kept silent as Hawks continued. We offer partnership, he said firmly. Not because we need it. Not because we want to prove ourselves. But because we believe that together, we can build a future that benefits everyone. A future based on cooperation, not control. A future based on the sharing of knowledge, not the hoarding of it. The galaxy has always been ruled by those who hoard resources and knowledge to maintain power. But we've seen that this system doesn't work anymore. It's time for a change. The room was quiet as Hawks' words sank in. I saw representatives from several species exchange glances. Earth was no longer the underdog. They were the ones holding the cards now. Captain Novak stepped forward, her voice cutting through the silence. "We're not here to force our will on anyone," she said, her tone unwavering. "But we are here to offer you something you'll regret not accepting. The pirates you feared. They're gone. The technology you abandoned. We've perfected it. And we've done so with the help of species willing to work with us, without fear of restrictions. If you want to maintain your place in the galaxy, you'll need to recognize that Earth is no longer on the outside looking in. We're standing at the center now, and we're ready to move forward." The council was reeling. They had never imagined that the species they had rejected could rise so quickly and so powerfully. The pirates who had once torn apart their trade routes had been eliminated by humanity, not by the council's elite forces, but by Earth's independent fleet, a fleet that had only come into being because the council had shut Earth out. Humanity's success wasn't a fluke. It was the result of their determination, innovation, and resilience. And now, it was time for the council to face the consequences of their decision. Hawks turned toward Nte, and his expression softened slightly, though there was no mistaking the power behind his words. "We've come to offer you a partnership based on mutual respect, but we won't wait forever. The galaxy is changing, and if the council is unwilling to evolve, we will continue to build our own path, with or without your help." The tension in the room was palpable. No one spoke, but the meaning was clear. Earth had moved beyond the need for approval. They had proved themselves in battle, and now, they were demanding recognition. Finally, Tay stood up, her expression hardening. "You've made your case, Minister Hawks," she said, her voice tinged with reluctant admiration. "But the question remains, what do you offer in return for this partnership?" Hawks didn't hesitate. "Recognition. Full membership in the Galactic Council. Access to Earth's technological advancements. And the freedom to work with us as equals, not subordinates." The room was silent. The Council had always prided itself on controlling the flow of technology, dictating the terms of peace and trade. The idea of giving up that power was unthinkable to many of them. Yet, as I looked around the room, I saw something different in their eyes. It wasn't fear, but respect. And perhaps, for the first time, a recognition that Earth was no longer a species to be ignored. Nte took a long, drawn-out breath. "And if we refuse?" Hawk's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll continue on our own. There are more worlds out there, worlds ready to join us, ready to leave the Council behind. But I believe in the strength of cooperation, not division. You have one choice before you, Counselor. Accept the new reality, or watch as the galaxy moves forward without you." With that, the Council was forced into a choice. One by one, they signed the treaty, some reluctantly, others with a sense of grudging admiration. As the final signature was inked, the entire chamber seemed to exhale a collective breath, as if the galaxy had just undergone a monumental shift. Earth, once the rejected outcast, had risen to the pinnacle of galactic power. And in doing so, they had not only changed the balance of power but had given the galaxy a new vision, a future based on cooperation, innovation, and the belief that no species, no matter how small or young, should ever be underestimated again. And as Earth's fleet sailed proudly through the galaxy, a new era began, one where Earth would lead the charge, and the Council would have no choice but to follow. The old order had been swept away, and a new empire, built on the principles of freedom and equality, had taken its place. Humanity was no longer just a part of the galaxy's future. They were the future. And the galaxy would never be the same again.